have no idea what episode number this is, so we're going to arbitrarily say it's 18. We've probably skipped some, but you know what? We make comments that are probably adult-like, so we're 18. I'm Kevin Johnson.
And I'm Nathan Sweeney.
Can you tell I didn't warn him I was going to say that?
Oh, geez. I'm stuck thinking, like, wait a minute, is 18 an adult or is 21? Like, where's the line?
I don't know. You can sign a contract at 18. Let's go with that.
Okay, that's fair. All right.
So this is episode 18. We recognize that is not the correct number, and we're just going to give up trying to fix it and start from here.
We could just arbitrarily call this the beginning of season 3. This could be season 3, episode 1, and it doesn't matter what episode we were on before.
That's a good point. I was going to go with 42, but I decided that was too obvious.
Yeah, that'd be a big change. All right, so Kevin, I have a question for you. What is the most common question that you get related to Infosec?
Okay, so my question back to you is that excluding the how do I get into Infosec question that we hear all the time and has been covered to death?
No, but that was I got that again yesterday. How do I get into Infosec? And I feel like I tell people that a lot, and yet people keep asking and asking. And so...
And I think you're right. And I want to be very clear. I am not in any way diminishing the question. I think it's a good question. I'm glad people come to us and ask that question. Here's why I think it's so difficult for people to know the answer. Because the people who aren't in Infosec don't listen to podcasts like this. Right? Yeah. And I see podcasts all the time. Here's what I think, and I don't know if this is where you wanted to go with this, but here's what I think is critical, and I'm trying to do it. I know you're trying to do it. Leslie, I hacked for pancakes on Twitter. She is doing an amazing outreach. She just mentioned recently something that so many people didn't know: the SkillBridge option for the military. Like, if somebody's in the military, they can actually sign up for SkillBridge. Most of them don't know this. Where while they're still in the military, ready to leave their I keep wanting to say enrollment, but I know that's not right. Enlistment. Right. And they can actually go work for a company to get experience and knowledge and information and stuff like that prior to actually leaving the military. And so many don't know it. I think what we have to do is we really have to start trying to push outside of our field, how to get into the field.
Yep.
Right. I don't believe that we have a skills gap. I don't believe we have an employment gap. We need more security people than we have. I'll agree with that. But I don't know of an industry out there that doesn't have issues hiring. Right. Yeah. I think and you and I've talked about this before, and I believe you agree with me. I think one of the reasons why we have a hiring gap and skills gap is because we look for the wrong thing, right? That's why we look for people who have experience doing other things to bring them into the field, right?
I think part of the, and I think this is where you're going, but I'm going to disagree a little bit with what you said, and I'm not sure if it's what you meant. I think part of the problem is a lot of people see when they think entry-level Infosec job, they're thinking, hey, I just went to college, I got this degree, boom, I want to start an Infosec. I have zero experience, I want to start. And that is the hardest place to be able to make a nuanced, understanding risk decision, right? Like, how do you make a decision based on complexities that you have no experience with?
Well, and there really isn't an Infosec job.
Okay.
There's a pen testing job. There's a forensics job. There's an analyst job. There's a SOC job. There is a job in Infosec, but it in and of itself is not a job. It's kind of like if I was to say to you, you know what? I want a job in retail. Okay, what? How? Where?
Right. There's that. Yeah. So this always feels conceited. I was telling a friend, he was like, hey, can you fix my
conceited.
Yeah, I'll admit. No. We always get can you fix my computer? I've got this virus thing, I think. And I'm like, no. I mean, like 15 years ago, sure. Right. Today, I could probably write a virus to put on it. but I don't have a clue how to get it off. Like,
yeah. See, I always tell people I don't fix them anymore. I break them.
exactly. But here's the conceited part. Because like they don't get that, and they're like, "Well, what do you mean? You work in computers, right? Like you know all the computer stuff." A guy was asking me about databases the other day. What should I use instead of Access? I, I Google something. I don't know, but it feels like our industry has gotten much more similar to the medical profession than most other industries. Like I would not go to my pediatrician and say, "Hey, I've got this thing on my skin. Can you look at this and tell me if it's cancerous?"
But if your pediatrician was at a dinner party, you would totally
I
ask
would
them.
totally do. Hey, can you look at this?
I'm just saying, right? Like,
But it's the
yes,
same thing, right? We're at a dinner party and someone says, "Oh, you work in computers." My kid's going to college and wants to know what he should get. I don't know. Ask admissions. Like
I think I think this is you and I've talked about this before, right? You and I both have similar employment type backgrounds,
fair.
right? We both did a little bit of everything, right? Like, oh, hey, you need me to administer that network? Done. You need me to set up a firewall? Done. You need me to write the back end system that runs the rental? Yes, done. You look at my resume and I jumped from admin to development to admin to development and back and forth. And we both approach security from a perspective of we have a wide range of things we know and we tie those into what we do for security. And your statement, and I think you're right, and I want to be very clear, and I know that you don't, I know you weren't saying there isn't a use for general purpose security people.
Sure.
But yeah, we have there. I agree with the idea that and lawyers, engineers, whatever, similar thing, right? You have a small subset of people that need to know lots and lots of different things, but the majority of the people in the field should pick a specialization and focus on it. And I want to be clear, not, and I know I know you know this, not pick a specialization and ignore everything else,
Right.
right? You can't do that, but pick something you want to be. Well, and we've talked about it with our staff, right? You're a consultant. You want to be a better consultant. You want to be a higher level consultant, whatever those words are. But we tell everybody, pick something you're really interested in and really dig into everything about it,
Yeah.
right? Our consultants still need to know, and I'll pick on Corey, right? Um, Corey is smart as anything, right? He knows so many different things, and he's got this real deep interest in game development and game security. And it's like, okay, great, let's focus on that. Let's dig into that. Let's do, and I think that that's what we need to make clear. And I'm part of the problem here, right? We aren't telling the schools to do that. We're
Interesting.
not telling the training programs and stuff. And I say I'm part of the problem. There's a Kaiser University. Is that a real thing? Are they a real university?
Sounds familiar.
That's where we taught. We had that. You remember the spring break training thing we did? You
Yeah, a
came
couple
into
years ago.
town.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was at Kaiser University. We just
Okay.
rented room from them, is what we
Sure.
did. But I'm assuming they're a real university. University is in their name.
They sold
But
it well. If they did, if they weren't.
yeah, I know, but every year they come to me and say, "Hey, Kevin, can you be on our board of
Yeah.
curriculum deciders or whatever that term is?" And every year I say no because I don't have time. Like it's
Yeah.
like, well, okay, you're not going to pay me, and I have to go and do this stuff for you during the time that I'm supposed to be doing stuff for the people who do pay me.
Right.
Right? I'm sorry, I can't. I just don't have the time. But I actually think that's part of the problem, right? Because I know for a fact that the last time I looked at their curriculum, the stuff they were teaching was so not relevant to
Yeah.
what I would hire. Now, I'm not saying it wasn't good stuff.
Right.
It just wasn't relevant.
To be fair, like our particular business, we're a boutique firm that has a very specific
Yes.
niche within the infosec industry. We're probably not a good representation of what that intro level security job would look like. But
Even though we have hired some intro level security people,
yeah,
right?
and it's hard. I want to go back to what you were saying about finding something you're interested in and pursuing it, because to me that is the biggest thing I always push people towards. This industry changes constantly, and if you're not passionate about something, and if you're not just thinking about it all the time and driving towards it, and hey, there was this, somebody gave a talk on this thing, I want to go look into that because maybe they've done something differently that I didn't, right? If you're not spinning up VMs and trying tools, you're not going to keep up. Like, you have to be driving to the front, or else you're quickly going to fall behind. And
Yeah.
I don't know how to convey that message. Like, to me, that's something, that's a character trait that people either have and they're
Yeah.
driven, or they don't. Is that fair?
Well, and you have to be very careful, right? Is because you want to convey that message without making it seem like the goal is unaccomplishable,
Yeah, that's true.
right?
Yeah. How do you be
Like,
encouraging?
let's pick on Kathy because she's here, and right. Kathy comes to us and says, "Hey, I want to be a better consultant." At least I would like to believe that Kathy wants to be a better consultant because she sucks now. No, no, no.
Yeah.
And, but but when we say to her, okay, Kathy came to this industry a different path than many people do, right? I can't say to Kathy, okay, to get to the next level, to do this, you have to have 20 years of experience writing code for an enterprise, because basically I'm setting her up with a goal that is unaccomplishable in her current position, right?
Right.
So when we look at that hypothetical, I just graduated college, I have a ridiculous loan, I need to make some money, I want to get into Infosec, what do I do? If I say to that person, the only path you have is to have amazing drive and work 400 hours a day and like do all these kind of things, we might as well just say no.
Yep.
Right? Like I, I and what I say to a lot of people, and I know they don't like the answer, is do what you want.
Yeah.
There is not a single path. I mean, we have people that work at Secure Ideas that have done the path of I worked in IT for too damn long and then became a security person. We have people who I was a chef and then I became a security person. We have people who I was in the military and then I joined. I left the military and did this. We had people who were in the military and still in the military and worked with us.
Yeah.
And right, you have people. We had a guy that was a Russian literature major in college. And then we have a staff member who, and I love this title, he was a Chrome consultant at Harley Davidson, and then started working for us and is doing great. Right, like
Yeah.
do what you want. The biggest thing I think is talk to people,
Yeah.
get involved, network. It in very many cases is who you know, not what you know,
Yeah.
that gets you the opportunity. The knowledge is critical, but if you don't even know, and I'll use me as an example. I grew up and never knew recruiters existed, and I'm talking about recruiters for jobs,
Sure.
right? I thought the only recruiter that was out there was for the military, and I couldn't go into the military because of health reasons, right? No, not bone spurs, actual scar tissue in my lungs. Um, but then when I found out, like, oh my God, I can go to this company and say, hey, here's my skills, and they would do what they could to get me a job. That opened up a world of jobs to me that I didn't even know existed.
Right.
And I'm not saying recruiters are the best way. I'm just,
Yeah. I think there's value there. Man, there's so many recruiters that don't do a good job that
yeah.
it's difficult, right? And I think that's one of the things, like, people need to be open to the idea and at least aware of what's out there. Do you remember, and I can't remember the details of it, there was a newspaper advertisement for some, like, back in the 1800s, early 1900s, something, like, there was a ship that was sailing out of England, and they put in a news advertisement in the classified section of the local newspaper that said something about dangerous adventure, you probably won't come back, it'll be, there won't be much food, it'll be grueling, horrible, blah blah blah. And like the next day there was a line down the street and around the block, right? Like there were so many people that wanted on this ship because they wanted to do something important. They wanted to make a name for themselves, right? Like they were willing to take risks. I feel a little bit like, and again, I feel like we're kind of grandiosing, Infosec here, but I almost feel like telling people, if you can do something else and be happy, do it. But if you like, Infosec is so hard to keep up with. The industry changes all the time. The arms race of the good guys trying to stop the bad guys who are trying to develop better attacks, and it's just constant. I feel like it's one of those things that the people who do a really, really great job feel like they couldn't be happy doing anything else at all. Is that fair? Would you agree with that, or is that over the top?
I think the answer to your question is yes. Yes, it's fair and it's over the top. Right? Like I think there are people who are absolutely. I'm in that position, right? The only other job I can imagine doing is monorail driving, and that's my retirement plan. I plan on driving the monorail at Disney World, right? I've said that a million times. I would take the ferry. I would drive the ferry.
The monorail at Disneyland isn't automated?
There's a driver.
Why? I mean, it goes from one place to the next and back, right? Like,
my understanding is, and I've ridden in the front of the monorail, the driver's job is to press the button. That's all they do.
Wow. Okay.
But there is I will bet you that it's a safety aspect. Like
that could be
regulatorily required. Because I'll tell you, Jacksonville has a monorail.
Yeah.
Which it's a useless monorail. But it doesn't have a driver. Right? It just so there's got to be picking on Disney here. I don't think Disney spends money on staff because they want to.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Right?
Oh, yeah. Anyway, we're getting off topic here. I think we've covered it well. I'll add one other piece real quick before we wrap up. I think something that's important for folks to do is just get involved in the community, right? If you kind of sort of think that you are interested in something, dive in. And Kathy's a good example, right? Like she pursued webinars. She said, hey, I'm going to, she did a job change. I'm going to go after this thing. And like, she is very actively, openly pursuing, how do I get more involved? And if you're not willing to do that, I think that kind of says a little bit about, hey, this probably isn't the right place for you.
And there are jobs in InfoSec that don't require that.
That's fair.
I mean, Blue Cross, we had an entire team that was an InfoSec team, and they did their job and went home. And that's there are positions for that. Yeah. That's what I say is, I think that's one of the things I always struggle with this question is, it's like saying, hey, I want to do a job in retail, or I want to do a job that interacts with people. Okay, what? I don't know, a job that interacts with people, right? It's too broad of a question.
Yeah, that's fair. That's good. Cool. Well, I feel like we're a little bit shorter this time because last time we went longer, but I think it kind of balances out in the long run. So next week we'll be back for maybe 2 weeks or so. We'll be back for episode like 49.
307.
Awesome.
Season 6.
Yeah. Cool. Kevin, it's good to talk to you. We will we'll chat with you later.